How's your teenage?
Pretty wild, yeah.
Did you get attention from older girls?
Some school teachers also.
Oh, when you hang out with bros in your age group, there's more offensive humor, right?
Oh my god, it's horrible.
But that's second layer.
No, second layer के साथ तो मैं जोक ही नहीं करता. और आपके generation के साथ तो बिल्कुल नहीं.
Om Shanti Om, Rajniti, that whole phase was happening. Were people trying to pull you down?
People being fake. And I'm not saying people were fake. I mean, maybe I was being fake.
But maybe in the last 2-3 years, I've come to realize that there's way too many casual hookups.
I know a lot of guys, okay, who need another woman or whatever, and they're in a very good, happy marriage. They said, no, but just a fling. But it's not just nothing.
What's it like being married for a long time and then going back to being unmarried? Does it feel like a shock?
You suddenly say, oh, I'm free, and you know, all of that, but then you're like, oh my God, but I don't like this. You feel uneasy, you're not comfortable.
You live in Goa now?
Yeah, and I love it. I've made friends there in such a way. And one guy will be there who's just fished a trout from the thing. I was like, Arjun ji, lunch. And he'd give me fish.
That's the dream. How do you look back at this? This has possibly become one of your most iconic.
I could say that. Yeah.
Or the most iconic?
I hope it is Joe Mascarenas from Rock On who's the most iconic.
Ever have these quarter life or midlife crisis conversations with Shah Rukh Khan?
I mean, Shah Rukh has got tremendous amount of depth. I think what you can take from him is
Have you had a sad phase in your life?
20s going into 25, and somehow Hanuman ji always protected me. The lohe de kande, tambe de banere, Hanuman ji ki chauki mere charo sandere. Every time I was to be scared, I was to go in there.
You have a really strong spiritual side.
Yeah, the only thing that saved me.
He's one of the most mysterious figures from the world of the Indian film industry. Arjun Rampal on today's episode of TRS. I tried bringing out a very raw, very vulnerable side of this human being, and I was left with a boy-to-boy talk, a mentoring session, a conversation between two men of different ages. And if you're someone who enjoys these very deep, very vulnerable episodes of The Ranveer Show, this is another addition to our epic TRS library. It's Arjun Rampal on TRS. Super pumped about speaking to you, Arjun Rampal. Welcome to TRS.
Well, thank you. What a lovely place you have, man, firstly. And great energy, good vibes. I've been watching your show, and I said, okay, this is my first podcast. And I said, I'll do it with the BeerBiceps.
Oh, thank you, sir.
I'll do it with Ranveer. And yeah, I'm glad to be here.
I'm genuinely just enjoying being in your company. I love hanging out with slightly older bros because I feel education is non-academic in so many ways.
Yeah, but I think I'll be a child only when you get to know me a bit better.
Yeah, I mean, you have such a chilled out energy. Honestly, I think that's become a big goal of life at this stage, to get to the level of chilled out energy that you have. So,
Really?
yeah, that's what everyone's feeling around you, honestly. But has this been a conscious effort for you to be this relaxed? Because I remember you being like this even back in the day.
I'm not that chilled, but I'm quite hectic. You know, I like to get things done. I'm a doer. Every time since I've been a model, everybody used to say, you're too chilled out, you're too laid back. I think laid back was more of the word that I kind of was used to listening to about myself from a lot of people. And I said, what's wrong with that? I mean, it's nice to be laid back. You know what I mean? I mean, it's amazing. Now, if I'm giving a laid back attitude, that's good, because I realized it didn't matter that much, that goal. And I think it didn't matter that much, that goal, because it was important to experience that journey to that goal, you know. And I think that's what makes the goal more exciting. You know, when you're moving and how you're moving towards it, and you know you're going to get there, but how you got there, what were the experiences of getting there, I think that's what's more important. And if you don't stop and look around, as Ferris Bueller said, you might miss it.
Ferris Bueller. First time
Remember Ferris Bueller?
Yeah, I love that film.
Yeah.
First time someone's spoken about Ferris Bueller on the show. But cool.
Yeah.
Do you know that you're a bit of a mysterious figure? Like that people want to just know more about you.
I'm just not extroverted on social media. I don't like to have a PR company running around doing my PR and saying things which are not true. I don't like fakeness, I try to think, but I also really, really like my privacy. I like to go back, as I said, to my safe haven. In fact, now I mostly spend most of my time in Goa, and I love it because I've made friends there in such a way that I come from the gym, I come out of the gym, and one guy will be there who's just fished a trout from the thing. I was like, Arjun ji, lunch, and he'll give me fish.
Wow.
Now you feel that, this is the way I think life should be.
You live in Goa now, mostly?
Mostly, yeah.
Damn,
Yeah.
that's the dream.
Yeah. So I like that. I like my space. I like to go for hikes. And we hike every weekend.
Wow.
We go to these amazing waterfalls. It's incredible nature. I want to be with nature. And so there's nothing mysterious about me. If you want, you're most welcome to come on a hike with me.
Bro.
Okay, you're most welcome to come cycling, come work out, come fishing, do whatever. But live your life, man. I mean, don't get stuck up in all this.
How do you look at fame now? After like this whole journey, it's been more than 20 years, 25 years?
So 22 years since I was launched in a film. And so that's my career from being on screen.
I'm also talking about your modeling days.
And if you take my modeling days, then I would say about 27.
Both these industries together are called the glamour industries. But I think the main goal for everyone in the glamour industry is fame.
People associate fame with glamour. It's not glamorous. It's actually the opposite of glamour. You know what I mean? The way we work and the conditions we work under, the kind of stress levels that we take, the kind of sacrifices that we make, and it all looks great where you dress nicely, you're wearing good clothes, you're coming out of a good car, you're photographed by people. All that looks really good on the forefront, but they don't realize what has happened in your home. If you're going through a bad day, or something's gone wrong with work, or something, is somebody at your home is unwell, or, somebody's sick, or somebody died, or, they don't care. You have to go out there and then just be this other person, which just doesn't make sense. It's not being normal. And today people speak a lot about mental health and all of that. But you have to be a bull. You have to be thick-skinned, you have to be a bull, and that's also not nice. Because where did that sensitivity go? Where did that nice child in you go? Where was that, laughter which you had? Even your laughter becomes fake. And suddenly you start realizing that you're kind of losing yourself in that. So you have to be very conscious to make sure that if you're getting into this business, you're getting into it for your work.
When I started the podcast, I felt like we grew a lot. We became mainstream. And that got me closer and closer to the 3 top parts of our country, top industries, at least from a media perspective, which is the world of films, cricket, and politics. Now, when you're near these 3, I feel one, when you're near a fire, you can feel the warmth. And also the nation's eyes are on you because you're just near these 3. So that causes changes in one's life. And I felt like people started to view me as being in the world of glamour. And I technically was in the world of glamour. The parties we go to, the places we go to, socialize, etc. I came to realize, and I'm this engineering grad who didn't know how the world works. But maybe in the last 2-3 years, I've come to realize that my industry is extremely sexual. Like there's way too much sexuality. And I'm not talking about YouTubing, talking about just media in general. There's way too much sexuality. And I see people...
In what sense?
There's way too many casual hookups.
Really?
Yeah. And there's way too much polygamy, polyamory, all these things. And I feel it kind of... At least this is how I look at life. I don't judge it because each to their own, everyone has their own story. But I do feel there's a price one pays for casual sex. And honestly, there has been a phase in my life where I've engaged a bit in it as well, long ago. And there was a price I paid. And I learned that in my mid-20s, corrected myself. And I feel like that's one of the best things I did for myself. I think there's a little power in unsexualizing yourself.
I love sex. Okay. I think sex is very important. Okay, part of your life. But yes, I think being with one partner is even more important.
Yes.
When you're sharing a bed, when you're sharing physicality, we don't realize it is a huge
Energy exchange.
Shift in what you're taking in from that person as well. It is there. It's going into your DNA somewhere.
Like, if you're in a long-term relationship, your girlfriend or wife will know your mood even if you're on the other side of the world sometimes.
So
she'll just give you a call.
Yeah.
What is the logic behind that? What you're saying?
So I think we've all kind of gone through a lot of things in our lives and experiences. And yes, I agree with you 150%, is very overrated, where people say, oh, we should just... It's actually, again, an addiction. It's a habit, again, that people kind of created for themselves. I know a lot of guys, okay, who need another woman or whatever, and they're in a very good, happy marriage. I mean, they call it happy marriage, I don't know how, but whatever it is. But they say, no, but it's just a fling.
It's just exercise.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, nothing. Well, it's not just nothing. You know what I mean? I can see what happens in that energy to that person. I can see that person's energy shift. Yeah, and it's actually an addiction. It's going to pull you down. And the more the person keeps doing it, now he's made it a habit again. And so that's become part of their personality. And as you said, when you get older, your face changes. It's not your face changes. It is whatever you are really inside, who you are, will finally show up on your face. You know what I mean? It's what is it that you're expressing. So it's not just the eyes that see. You know what I mean? It's every pore from everywhere that's taking it within. The eyes only let go of what's going on inside of you. They're just the windows.
I'm seeing so many people pay the price for chasing sex around me, like friends.
It happens. Don't beat yourself up on it also. There's always a choice you can do. There's always a second chance you have to give yourself. Okay? Again, I'm saying don't be hard on yourself. I was a person who was very hard on myself. I lost a lot of my time just, beating myself up. And I could have spent that time just instead of going into the past and thinking, Arey, I could have done this differently, and this, and this was wrong, and you're an idiot, and you're this. Just make sure you don't repeat those mistakes. Change it. Every day, make another habit. Make something new. Make something good that makes you feel good. And then suddenly make it just part of you. It could be anything. It could be just waking up early in the morning and sitting. Do nothing. Just sit. Go for a 10-minute walk. Spend time on your own.
Good routines should outweigh bad routines.
Good habits. Good habits. Hoga. You will want that nice big bottle of red wine. Okay? There will be this one beautiful woman that will walk into the room. And you will be, all those desires will say, Arey, yaar, main abhi kya karun? You know what I mean? All that will come up within you. Look at her, smile and say, wow, man, isn't that beautiful? It's out. It's done. It's over. Finish it. Okay? Don't hold back. Don't do any of that. Okay? If that beautiful woman comes to you and says, darling, how do you like your eggs in the morning? Okay? You'll be like, darling, I would like them boiled. Okay? But I definitely don't want them scrambled. Okay? Because That's my love, and that's who I'm going home with. But on any other day, if I was single, there was no way I would not be having my eggs the way you'd like them. You know what I mean? So let it go. You know, chalna yaar, ho gaya. You have to have your fun. You've done everything. You've experienced everything. But you've also made certain commitments. I think to honor those and to be around those and to religiously, think is going to make you a better person. And I think that's what life has taught me. It's taught me a lot. It's taught me when I met Gabriella, we were in storms. And I remember a really good friend of mine saying, dude, this relationship, oh my God. You can't get into this relationship. You and her together, you're like yin yin or yang yang. It's not a yin yang.
As in you're the same person.
Yeah, you're the same person. But it was that yin yin and yang yang energy, okay, which was fantastic for each other.
Which country is she from originally?
She's from Cyprus, but she's born and brought up in South Africa. So, but she's lived 13 years in India. And she loves India, and she loves the culture, and she loves everything about it, So she's very much Indian. And because they are Cypriot, which are like Greeks, they're a lot like us. Family, close-knit, saath mein baith ke khana, really liking their food, going on holidays together. Children, very important. Homes, very important. So, yeah.
You found this relationship in your 40s, right?
Yeah.
Would you say that the boy inside you was more ready for a good relationship in your 40s, or it was just random?
No, it's not like that. I don't say anything was a good relationship bad. See, that'd be wrong for me to compare, I think whatever's happened in my life was meant to happen, right? These were choices I made. And as I said, I'm not going to be here forever. You're not going to be here forever. Same way, how can you expect a relationship to be there forever?
I'll give you the context for this question. The context was simply the fact that I feel at age 31, I'm a way better partner than I was at age 25 to whoever. Because just as life progresses...
I'll ask the other person that. I don't think we should be answering these. We should ask the partner about that.
You have relationship advice for guys in their 20s and 30s? Should one get married?
Wow, you're going to put me in a fix.
Brotherly advice.
Oh my God, nahi. मैं नहीं बोल रहा हूँ. Yeah, it's a tough one.
It's too subjective.
I think very young. 20s, 30s is, I think, really young. I got married when I was 24. I think it's too early. I think you're too young. There's lots to experience in life, and you got to get matured. Guys mature definitely far slower than women do, and that's a proven fact. We are idiots.
Yeah,
so
100%.
So wait it out. If you want to be successful, I think in it. But then I could be completely wrong. There could be that one person who, I know guys who've had these childhood sweethearts, never cheated on each other. They're always been together, and it's phenomenal. So those things also do occur, but those I call miracles. And maybe they're coming from God knows what karmic thing and what reincarnations they've had, where they've come into those souls have met, and they're true soulmates. But yeah, I would, if you really want my honest advice from my experiences and what I've seen around, I think you'll know when you're really, really ready, and
wait until then.
Yeah. And that would mean sacrificing maybe somebody who you think is right for you, or maybe that person will wait it out with you. You never know.
If you don't mind me probing on your personal life a little bit,
Okay.
why didn't you get married to Gabriella?
Okay.
I think you should talk about this publicly, because I honestly feel India's finally ready for these kind of conversations.
Well, it's not me, it's not her. What is marriage? It's just a piece of paper. Finally, I think we already married, and there's no doubt in my mind about that. But sometimes what that piece of paper can also do is change you, because it's like you think it's permanent. It's a false notion of that. Okay, but you're just legally bound in a way. But it could change your attitude towards each other. I think that's how we both feel. We feel that it's so organic, whatever has happened between us. And in Touchwood, I don't want to jinx it and I don't want to speak too much about it, because actually that's why I'm a personal person, because I feel, I believe in Nazar, and I believe that sometimes the evil eye does come and affect it. But on an advised level, if people, and I again don't need to justify it to anybody, but for both of us, I felt, we said, this is beautiful. This is something we should keep experiencing till however long we can experience it. In both our minds, we're married to each other. There is no doubt, in our minds about that. And I think we both kind of push each other in the right direction. We both are completely motivating towards each other. And at the same time, your boyfriend, girlfriend. It keeps you young, yaar. It keeps you young.
I see a lot. I see a lot more Indian boys going down this path, going forward.
I don't advise it. I don't want to be the guy who's going to say go against an institution. I'm not going against any institution. I think it's a beautiful. Maybe we will get married. Who knows? Suddenly kuch na kuch ho jayega, and this Romeo and me will really wake up and do this crazy thing, or the Juliet in her will do something. So I don't know. It could happen. When it would happen, how it would happen, I don't know. But for me, I'm already married to her. I have two beautiful boys. I mean, our life. As I told you, I'm blessed, My daughters and her get along beautifully. Mayor and her get along. So, I mean, what else can I ask for?
It's nice having 4 kids.
Jesus. It's amazing.
Nice. Yeah?
It's brilliant. Most important thing in the world.
Really?
Children.
Why?
Best energy. Best energy. Purest, cleanest, best energy.
Pure love.
Unconditional love. You can give it to 4 of them. I mean, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You're blessed if you can have more children. I thought you might like, should we one more? Like, it does go through your mind. I'm like, dude, bus. If they weren't so expensive, I would have definitely had one more. But they're expensive. Yeah.
And it's getting more expensive with time.
Yeah. Just going to keep increasing.
You're raising your sons in Goa?
They're in Goa, yeah. Clean air, running around, swimming, climbing trees, the way I grew up. Running, cycling already. They can climb walls.
Another dream.
Yeah. They can do everything. They're trekking with me. There's this beautiful waterfall trek in Goa we just did recently. And this is the first time I introduced him to Lord Shiva. Okay, because it's called the Shivling waterfall. Because where the water breaks, it's like a huge shivling. And it's so beautiful. So he said, what is this? Why is it called Shivling? Who's Shiva? Questions come from him only. No? Then you introduce them. So now he looks, Shiva. Shiva, you know. So it's nice, and nature, and it's a natural one that happened. So I like that. I think this is the way I think children need that. They need openness, they need nature, they need to be showed all of that.
You have a really strong spiritual side, which like people are getting to know over the course of this podcast. It's kept you sane in many ways, I feel.
Yeah, the only thing that saved me
From
from going insane, I guess, or has been my speed breakers where they correct you, checks your speed, वापस गाड़ी रफ्तार में लाओ, you know what I mean? Give you the slap at the right time, an awakening, and protect you and pick you up when you need it, so you have to fall back. So yes, I've always had that from childhood, and I think that comes from my upbringing. I've always gone to temples, I've gone to a church, I've gone and prayed in different places. I almost went into Buddhism at one point in time. So, but now like I'm more into being a Hanuman Bhakt and Shivji Bhakt. So
you practice rituals as well?
yes.
Like mala jap or something?
I do stotras, I do the Hanuman Chalisa. I do it all.
Why Hanumanji? And I ask this because I feel deities bring an energy into one's life and you're drawn to the energy that you actually need.
But when I was a child, I used to get scared of the dark. बहुत डर लगता था. Yeah. And then one day my dad put me thing. Now I was too small to recite any of the big mantras or whatever. So he taught me a simple prayer. He said, Hanumanji, just pray to Hanumanji. He said, लोहे दे कंधे तांबे दे बनेरे, हनुमान जी की चौकी मेरे चारों सपेरे. So मैंने वो रट लिया. Every time I used to be scared, I used to go in there. And somehow Hanumanji always protected me. And he was always there. And today also in any kind of time where I feel, scared, or if I feel something impossible is there, I just have to pray to Hanumanji and he takes care of it.
Okay.
So that could be I think we all are pods, right? And we attract energy. So I think Hanumanji could be that one button or formula which I press, and that pod gets awake, and then I can attract whichever energy that I want to attract.
It's giving you something at age 51 also?
Oh yeah, more so now.
More so?
More so. Because now I understand it better. There's an understanding to it. I see the science behind it. I see why. I like even when we recite, like you say, Om. Okay, Om is the sound of the universe. So, or if you are reciting any shlok that you do, there's a sound, there's a rhythm to it. It's all creating a sound energy. You're creating a vibration within you. And those things kind of ignite and open up certain cells and vibrations in your bodies. That's why sometimes, if you, like you said, you meditate a lot, you will suddenly feel some tingling sensation in your fingertips. What is that? That's you receiving energy, or energy coming out from you. So what energy you want to deplete, what you want to get in. There's a tremendous amount of science in, our scriptures, which are there in the Vedas, which if you can go and have access to, which we can all have access to today because of the internet, very easily so. You must go and explore that and understand it.
I'm impressed as shit, Arjun Rampal. This is like such a hidden side of you, man.
Really?
Oof. Who'd think that you're so spiritually inclined?
Really?
When we speak about the glamour industry generally, people assume that if someone has spent more than 25 years within glamour, and I see this with a lot of my friends who are like 31, 32, they're starting to age and you can see it on their face. You spent 26 years. So there's been that bull mindset you spoke about.
Yeah.
I feel it's protected you also. It's protected the inner child. You're still a happy guy.
I'll tell you what has protected me, okay, is lifestyle. If you change your lifestyle, if I had the same lifestyle I had when I was 30, or maybe even reaching my late 30s, okay, I would have been finished by now. But when you kind of change your lifestyle, when you look after your health, okay, you look after, search for, like you were saying, searching. It's not about searching for materialistic things only, or about giving that hit film, or about having more money, or having more fame or power. When you search, and your search becomes about going within yourself, I think that's very, very important. And I think after a certain age, when you've seen everything, you kind of say, hey, where am I today? And who am I? Do I recognize this person in the mirror? There are a lot of times when I was growing up, and especially in my 30s, early 30s, like your age, I used to constantly look at myself in the mirror and sometimes not like the person who I saw. And then I would, kind of make those corrections within myself.
Why?
You get carried away. Huh? It's normal. It's,
People around.
No, not only people. You don't blame it on anyone. It's you. It's got nothing. Firstly, the blaming to forget about. Don't blame anybody for anything. Everything that happens in your life is because of you. Okay? You allowed it to happen to you. It's happened to you. Okay? If you don't allow it to happen to you, it won't happen to you. It's simple. Okay? So, the minute you blame somebody, you're going to lose your power.
Coming back to why.
Why
did you feel that?
Because suddenly you're like, yaar, main to aata tha. When I grew up, I came from very humble beginnings. My mother was a school teacher. My father was doing a small business. So we weren't very rich or anything like that. I mean, we had a scooter only. We didn't even have a car or anything. My first goal was I have to buy a car. And my relatives were rich. So you kind of have always looked at materialistic things. You wanted them. And so I think when I was growing up, it was all about, making money, doing things, getting things done. And when you have that kind of an attitude, you step on a lot of toes, and you step on people the wrong way, sometimes, without sometimes even realizing it. And then you say, shit, but that's not me, because you hear that sensitive boy who was waiting for his mom at home crying, you know what I mean? Or wanting to just cuddle with somebody. Where did that person go? So you miss that.
The warrior kills off the boy sometimes.
Yes. And then so that you want that boy back. And then you kind of look for that person again. And you correct your ways. And you make a few corrections in your life. And the minute you can do that, okay, you will bring that child back in you. And it is very important to look within you to find that child. Because when you find that child within you, I'm telling you, that's the only anecdote for anti-aging or for being happy or for just being, shant and peaceful in your life.
Along with a solid lifestyle.
With having everything, like with also having knowledge and wisdom. Wisdom is what? When you've experienced things. It's the results of all your experiences, the experiments that you had through life, attain you and give you wisdom. And that's when you realize what you can do and what you shouldn't do, what suits you and what doesn't suit you. It's similar as you go into a diet program. A lot of things work on certain people, a lot of things don't work on certain people. So it's about knowing your body. It's about understanding that. And then saying, okay, these things I should stay away from, and this is okay.
But dude, how much girl attention did you get while growing up when you were a model? Even post, during your film career?
Well, let's say I never had a problem with it.
How's your teenage? Fun.
Pretty wild, yeah.
Yeah? Did you get attention from older girls in your teenage?
Some school teachers also.
Oh, wow. Which grade?
See, till 10th, I was pretty safe. Post that, yeah.
I asked a lot of my female friends about this podcast before you came in today. And they had one common question. What's up with you? Like, how's a day in your life right now? Like, what are your priorities? What do you look forward to? How do you look at life?
So right now, what my priorities are right now in my life would be to maintain this level of happiness that I have, and protect it, and make sure I don't do things or don't fall into things or get carried away. I think that is the biggest priority for me in my life, where I want to be there in the moment. It's not about thinking too much into the future. It's not about dwelling too much into the past. It's about being around the people you love, and being there for them. Being present when you're working, completely present, and bringing out the best of work, and that is there, because I know there's another 10 years for me to do some excellent work, and that's what I would like to leave behind and be remembered for.
Why not beyond 10 years?
10 years of excellent work is now. I know it. It's going to happen. You know what I mean? I know what I want to do. I can't plan for another 10 years. Maybe that those 10 years could give me another 10 years. But now what I want to do as a priority is that, like, do excellent work, just like excellent work, nothing mediocre, nothing wrong, nothing going down in anything that I do. And just being able to look at that guy in the mirror and saying, yeah, I like you.
Have you had a sad phase in your life?
I think the saddest moment definitely was when I lost my mom. I think there was nothing more traumatic for me than that.
Okay. When was this?
This was, it's going to be 6 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you okay now?
You're never okay.
Keep thinking about that a little bit.
You don't think about it. I mean, it comes up, it creeps up on you, it never goes away. Losing a parent for me is like losing a limb, everything changes, but you kind of adapt to it.
How do you look back at the bond you shared with her?
I was very special. I'm very lucky to have such an incredible mother. For me, I was very blessed.
How did
Very, very blessed.
How did she feel about Arjun Rampal?
He's the greatest guy in the world.
Biggest cheerleader.
Biggest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also one's anchor when the world is shitting all over one's image, which happens to everyone in fame.
Yeah,
I'm not
Yeah.
like, I think the more mainstream one gets, the more you're shat upon.
I went for a walk. It was in Holland. And I was going through a very depressed moment in my life, where I was seeking and asking for many questions, and about, like, who am I, what am I, why am I here, what is the purpose of life, and all these kind of questions. I think I don't know if youngsters think like that anymore, but at least I used to at that point in time. And I know quite a few guys my age who have gone through those phases where you are in this, tipping phase of between your mid-20s.
Quarter life crisis.
Yeah, and you're kind of, going to go into your 30s, or it's not even, it's like 20s going into 25, maybe, at that phase. That was something that really stayed with me. I was taking a walk down. I was in Amsterdam, and I was walking down, and I was like, God, if you're there, just give me a sign. And I sat down on this square, and I was sitting there, and I looked at this statue, and I was like, kya yaar, itni khoobsurat jagah hai, and why doesn't somebody clean that damn statue? It was just laden with pigeon shit. Okay? That whole statue had just pigeon shit all around it. It was a beautiful statue, but it had pigeon shit all around it, and something was written in Dutch on a signboard. And then I flipped it, the signboard, and the English translation was there. And guess what it said?
What?
Some days you're the pigeon, and some days you're the statue.
Wow.
It kind of summed everything up for me, So that happens. Some days we shit upon people, okay? Some days people shit upon us. Some days you're this monument, okay? But you will still be shat upon. So the shitting ain't gonna stop.
Did you ever have these quarter life or midlife crisis conversations with Shah Rukh Khan? I feel he's a really wise human being, and so are you. And your brotherhood, at least what we used to see during the IPL, always seemed like you guys have very deep conversations.
I mean, Shah Rukh has got a tremendous amount of depth in him. He's seen a lot in life too. He's made tremendous amount of sacrifices. He's brilliant in the way he kind of can foresee things. His foresight is incredible. And he's extremely hardworking. I think what you can take from him is a little bit of everything, good qualities about how he kind of conducts himself, how he has made so many good habits. When you make a lot of good habits, right? If you can create a lot of good habits, and if they outweigh your bad habits, then you kind of grow in a particular way. But when you keep doing it and it becomes a habit, it just becomes natural as walking into a room and knowing where the switch is and you just switch it on. There's no thought process. It's just coming then and it starts flowing. And that's what a habit should finally turn into. That becomes your personality. Right? Shah Rukh is very good at converting those great habits into becoming part of his personality. And then it becomes inherently you. And that's called growth. So I think that's something one should learn from anybody who is practicing that. And I really encourage people to practice that. Make good habits to become innate qualities of yours, and then that becomes you. It becomes a part of you. Like if you just decide that I don't want to use a bad word, and if you keep correcting yourself, in 10 years, you will have such a fantastic vocabulary because you will look for so many other words to express yourselves. Because by using a bad word, you can express yourself very easily. But it's easy. And it doesn't sound very good to the ear. It can be misconstrued. It isn't really the word that you would use in front of your parents. I just done this web series called Rana Night where I've just abused so much that I never want to abuse again in my life. I think I'm done with abuses after doing that. But you see it and you're like, oh my God, that sounds horrible. So I don't want to. I want to increase my vocabulary. I want to do all of that. So similarly, I think Shah Rukh is very good at doing that.
How did you guys meet in the first place? Just randomly in film industry?
I think Gauri and Meher were good friends, and that's how we kind of met. We kind of bumped into each other once or twice on thing, and it was like hi, and it was just that,
I'm not asking this from a professional perspective, okay? But I think this must have been in your mid-30s, late 30s when that brotherhood formed. In the film industry, do you need that kind of brotherhood to just keep going forward?
I mean, some people can maintain it, I feel something I dislike in my life is fakeness, and I can't handle fake people. Unfortunately, in our industry, as I said, because of so many circumstances and situations, people are so interested in only creating a perception of themselves. Then they start believing in that perception, which isn't true. And it kind of gets disturbing. And for me as a person, sometimes it used to get very suffocating. So if there is people being fake, and I'm not saying people were fake. I mean, maybe I was being fake,
Johnny Lever had said the same thing on the show.
And maybe I was being fake, maybe I was losing my mind and being somebody who I didn't like being. So I think it's important to not burn bridges with anybody. It's also important and healthy to be able to go away from all of this into your safe place, which is your home. And, you know, go out onto the street normally without bodyguards and thinking that people are going to hurt you. For me, all that I can't stand.
I feel like there's a price one pays for socializing. That's what have started to feel a lot lately.
Yeah.
And some social encounters are fantastic, but
It's fine in little doses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Too much of it is just like it's the same thing over and over and over again. And then you end up doing, nonsense and silly things. And it just it takes a lot away from you, an energy which you don't think. And then if it becomes about that, constantly, then you're really, really digging a big, deep, dark hole for yourself.
how were you perceived when, Om Shanti Om, Rajniti, that whole phase was happening? Were people trying to pull you down?
See, Om Shanti Om, people weren't trying to pull me down. Om Shanti Om, they were happy that I did it because I was playing a negative character. You understand? If I was the hero of Om Shanti Om, most probably they would have wanted to pull me down. You know what I mean? The minute you do a positive role and you have hit it out of the park and you're the hero, then it's a different equation. Yes. So, or if you do a supporting part, people are like, still okay, theek hai yaar, kar diya isne. But the minute you try to come to that level, yes, there will be problems. And why should that happen? I don't understand that. I think it's wrong. I think, experience and dedication that a person is given to his craft or her craft, then that should be appreciated. And those kind of parts should be given to those people, that they can pull these things off with ease. And this will be beneficial to the project. 90% of films I feel go wrong is because of wrong casting. We cast the films wrong sometimes. So, and the other 90% of it goes wrong is because of the budgeting. So either the budget fails it or it's the casting that's failing it. So that's what kind of happens. And why are we not giving chances to somebody who really is deserving of, that part and cast that correctly? And it could be an absolutely newcomer.
Have people been asked you?
Oh, I've been asked to people. People have been to me, and that's fine. It's the same formula of like some days you're the pigeon and some days you're the statue. I mean, it all comes down to that in an equation because and it doesn't happen knowingly. Sometimes it just happens. And then you kind of one day are sitting alone and you're like, shit, man, why did I say that about that person at that point in time? It could have really affected that person's life. And then maybe you have the decency to pick up the phone and call that person and try to make peace. But maybe that person's really bitter with you at that point in time. That you can't make that peace. So I would say it's important not to get into that space. Because this is when people talk about baggage, this is the baggage that you carry. The baggage is all these kind of silly, petty things that become baggage, and that weighs you down, nobody else.
And there's probably no way to shed it off completely.
Yeah, because maybe you lost that chance. Sometimes kuch bol dete ho, if you immediately say, bhai, sorry, I didn't mean it like that. It's over. You diffused it. But before ego came and you said, oh, I didn't mean it like that. I hope he understands that. But you're saying that in your own mind. That other person is not thinking of it like that. Right? Be sensitive. Be nicer. reach out, be kinder, be more compassionate, be a good person.
When I was in engineering college, the bro group humor was centered around roasting each other.
Yeah,
And it's perfectly fine.
it's fine.
Occasionally, and I've seen this as one grows older, a sharper than needed comment is passed. And that's why I see some friendships cracking also. So I've kind of trailed away a little bit. I'm not talking about my absolute bros,
Yeah.
but that second layer.
नो सेकंड लेयर के साथ तो मैं जोक ही नहीं करता और आपके जनरेशन के साथ तो बिल्कुल नहीं बिकॉज आई डोंट नो व्हाट विल कम आउट ऑफ माय माउथ एंड हाउ इट विल बी कंस्ट्रूड बट आई नो आई विल बी क्रूसिफाइड ओके फॉर इट
When you hang out with bros in your age group, there's more offensive humor, right?
Oh my God, it's horrible. Yeah, I mean, if these woke generation guys heard us speak, oh my God. They'd be spending more time with their shrinks than anybody.
Who do you hang with now?
Oh, my bros. You know
Childhood.
what I mean, school. I mean, even like some filmmakers, actors, directors. Sometimes you just meet people, and you can just hang with them, and they get you, and you get them, and they become a bro, man. I mean, it's nothing like that. It's about that energy, but there's no expectations, so it's fine as long as you're in a room with people who have no expectations of you and you don't expect anything of them. You are in a good space. So I hang out with those kind of people, and it's a lot of fun.
What do you do? What do you do to chill?
Roast the living daylights out of each other, and it's so much fun.
This has come up in an episode with Madhavan as well. I have a couple of friends going through really bad separations. And, when it comes to separation, the guy perspective is also often not spoken about. Both these guys have leaned on their bros. And I feel like we have a role to play, to help the brothers going through shit in life.
It's human nature to start passing the fault onto somebody else very easily, making excuses, But the meltdown is something else. It's happened because of something else. It happens because it was not working out. Because you're sad, because you're unhappy, And if you can't look in there and you can't try to find happiness more in there, and that's when it's going to crack and break. So I think at that point in time, I would advise people to be honest with themselves. Rather than going to a bro and saying, hey buddy, let's go party, chal tu ab bachelor hai, chal bahar chalte hain kidhar, let's have a crazy night out or anything like that. It's, I think, important to shut all your doors, windows, everything, isolate. And that's what I did, and reflect within yourself. And you realize how there were so many shortcomings within you, and yes, there were shortcomings from the other side and all of that that happens is all okay, but finally it is you who you have to fix. You need to heal. You need to come back, as a stronger person, because you have responsibility towards so many other people who are also a part of this, which are your bros as well, are very much part of it. And it should be done with dignity. It should be done with love. When you come together, it comes with love. Even when you go away, it should happen with love.
Were you okay? And I'm not trying to probe or anything here. I'm asking you almost from a place of perspective. I see so many of my friends' marriages not working out for whatever reason. And I see both the parties going through a phase of, I don't want to call it mourning, but it's difficult, man, for the girl, for the guy.
It's very difficult. It's not easy. I think it's not easy on anybody. It's your children it's not easy on. I think it's the most difficult for them. And you don't want that. I had come from a broken home when I was young. And for me to have not succeeded in a marriage was something which I really had to look back upon and see how did this go wrong and how did I not, think. And I realized why it went wrong and what were the things. But I take responsibility for it. Today, touch wood, we all are very close. We all are very loving towards each other, and we'll always have each other's backs. So, the thing is that you don't have to be living under the same roof. You don't have to be bound down by a piece of paper or separated by a piece of paper. You will always have each other's backs. There is a bond that has happened which is far greater than everything else. Don't let that go. I think that's what's important, and that's what has been my learning. There've been a lot which we've taken from each other. There's a lot we've given to each other, and you cherish that.
What's it like being married for a long time and then going back to being like unmarried? Does it feel like a shock?
It feels lonely, yes. You suddenly say, oh, I'm free, and all of that, but then you're like, oh my God, but I don't like this. You feel uneasy, you're not comfortable.
Lack of stability.
It's not stability also. Yes, maybe, yeah. I think it's a good way of putting it. Stability or, coming home. Home
oasis.
Yeah, that, and of course the food. You miss the food, and no, but I mean, God's been kind to me. Gave me a second chance in another relationship, and I think one thing that we have abundance of within ourselves is love. No matter how much love we give, you're not going to get poor or and get really rich in it, So that's something you can keep giving and you can keep receiving.
Can we do one last round with you? It's a quick round.
Sure.
So we have some old photos. Just want you to give an honest insight on these.
This is, I think, one of the first matches of KKR in the first season of IPL. And yeah, we'd all gone together. This was in Kolkata at the Eden Gardens.
Who are you at this point?
Who are we playing? I don't understand. I mean, I say we because I still support KKR only. I can't remember who we were playing.
How was this phase of your life?
Happy phase. Very good phase.
Kids were young. You had a strong friend group around you.
We were like riding the wave.
Did the three guys here elevate each other?
I think so. We learned a lot from each other. Gave each other a lot.
There was a professional brotherhood. Everyone's rising together.
I mean, wasn't like that really. No, it wasn't just about work. There was something more to it. There was a lot of love, respect, caring, and there was a good friendship there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, next photo. Who are you? This is Rendezvous with Simi Garewal, I think.
Yeah. Rendezvous with Simi Garewal. I think one of my first interviews that I'd kind of done. And
honestly, you're a splendid looking guy, but you're even better looking now.
No, I don't know. I'm a little boy there. Yeah. I think Mayor and I just started dating at this point in time. It's initial years of our relationship.
How was your headspace here?
I was very happy. Again, you can see it in that smile. I'm happy. I was really cracking up because Simi asked me a question on this show I'll never forget. And I just told her before because Mayor and I had just started seeing each other, and I said, please let's not talk about relationships and all of that and everything. So she goes, no, of course, Arjun, of course, no problem. And the first question was like, so, do I hear wedding bells ringing? And I was like, congratulations, Simi, you're getting married? And she'll never forget that.
Fame also would have been so different in this pre-social media era. So elusive. Being on the Sami Garwal show and all must have been something crazy.
Yeah.
I've heard an urban legend that you worked as a waiter in a nightclub. Is that true?
Not in a nightclub, in New York.
Okay.
In a restaurant.
Okay. This
This is the Ravan body. Yeah. And this was a shoot I was doing for this perfume ad that I had launched. It was called Alive. And Dabboot shot this. Yeah.
What's the feeling of holding this physique on your human body? How do you feel?
Oh, it felt great till I had it. It's difficult to maintain, and especially when you like food the way I do. But it was a tough one. It was a good 5 months of serious training. I had slipped my disc, which was my L4, L5, and I had to do it with a slipped disc, so it was even more difficult.
And like you're doing weight training and sports at this point?
I was cycling, I was running, I was doing weight training, functional training, kickboxing, everything.
Do you remember your protein intake at this point?
I think I was I was also on calorie deficit because I wanted to get very lean and very, very ripped. I wanted every muscle to show in my body. So I was in calorie deficit. So I think definitely protein intake was higher. Carbs were far less. But smaller meals, not big meals.
Psychologically difficult?
Very.
Okay.
But once you get there, I think the first month and a half, and then you're in a zone after that where it's just... you don't only want to see anything else.
And there's no cheat meal
concept. There is no question only. You're like just thing. But hard on people around you because you get kind of edgy. And I have one thing I'd really like to say. I've never done a steroid. I've never taken any kind of supplementation. I've never, taken any creatine or any of those kind of supplementation.
Never had a protein shake?
Protein shake I've had, okay, but that's just whey protein, okay, but that also I'll have one scoop of protein. But otherwise it's just with meals and no other kind of supplementation. So that's why that body looks the way it looks. Otherwise... my nipples would be as large as my chest.
The guys in your age group who did steroids back then, I think they're paying a price for it now.
I have no idea who's done it, but it's something which I would definitely tell people not to do.
You've seen it harming people?
Yes. And even you get this thing called roid rage, which is, you lose your temper and you lose your cool very easily. And it just becomes a loop in your head, and I've seen that happen to people, and it's screwed up a lot of people and a lot of relationships.
I feel like roid rage combined with the competitive nature of the media world is not a good combination.
Not a good combination. Anything. I think anything unnatural, you can get all of this naturally. It's just a little bit more time. Instead of doing it in 2 months, you will do it in 3.5 months. Okay? Yes, you won't get that huge. Okay, maybe to get that huge, maybe 6 months. And that guy will do it in 2.5, 3 months. Okay, so maybe double the time. But what you will get will never go away. The minute you stop taking the artificial or the stimulants that you've put into your body, okay, it's all going to go. It's going to go. And it's going to go badly. Okay, so...
Along with your mental health.
Mental health, oh, theek hai, it's going to go also, and so is your hair.
Finally.
Yes, Om Shanti Om. Mikey's here.
How do you look back at this? This has possibly become one of your most iconic...
I could say
the most iconic in your career?
I hope it is Joe Mascarenhas from Rock On who's the most iconic.
Oof.
But yes, I think commercially it would be Mike or maybe Prithvi from this thing, Rajniti. Because people really like the Rajniti character as well. And I really love playing him.
You absorbed a little bit of Bheem for that one?
Bheem.
Yudhishthir.
Bheem to tha hi main. And Sunny Corleone from Godfather.
That's why it's close to your heart?
It's close to my heart because it was just a fantastic team to work with.
Fantastic
and
film.
One of my favorite directors, Prakash. I mean, he just was just fabulous for me. And he just saw me and he knew me. And I also was born in Jabalpur. And I've spent a lot of my summers and a few schooling days in Jabalpur as well. So the MP ka gunda was in my character.
I always wanted to sit in front of Arjun Rampal and say, Sitapur ka ticket dilwa dijiye. Man, you had some iconic roles. It's so cool you brought up Rock On. How do you look back at that film? Why did you say that you wish that people think that that's more iconic?
Because I won the national award for that as well. And I think it was the most real character that I played till date. He was a true artist. I think I was going through a lot that Joe was going through. Where you're waiting for that one chance and you're waiting for that one chance. Karna hai. And nothing is working. And that frustration that kind of builds up on you, I think all that pent up energy of mine that I'd had in those phases of my life, I could release it through Joe. So I really loved that character because he gave me that huge release of this frustration that I was holding.
Very unforgettable film.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those films that Gen Z has to yet discover again.
I hope they do. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. A lot of message, and I think it was Abhishek Kapoor's best film.
Yeah.
Gattu's best film. It was a great launch for Farhan. We made some incredible friendships there, and the incredible music. So, but really layered good characters. Yeah. And so young in our lives, we were playing it and we thought we were old at that time.
How old were you guys?
I think I was 35 or something. 34, 35.
There was a bit of a self-image of, man, it's so late now.
Yeah. Also feeling aa jati hai. But it's never too late.
Yeah. I think it takes time for one to realize that though.
Yeah, you should not let it seep in only at any point in time.
That's it. That's it for today, Arjun Rampal. It's been a blast. Thank you, man.
Thank you. It's been a blast for me too. My first podcast, and I hope we got enough information because I really wanted to reach out to people through you because you do it so well. So thank you for having me.
No, thank you for being on the show. People have finally gotten to know some of the mystery. People have gotten to know what it's like walking around as a Greek god in human form. And most importantly, I feel people have gotten to know the spiritual aspect of the life that you've lived. All I can say is I am hungry for the next conversation I can have with you a year later when I've lived life a little bit. And I'm even more equipped to speak to you because there was some points where I feel I couldn't match your game. Honestly, on some level.
No, don't be like that.
So
I think you're a very evolved human being and you've done tremendously well yourself. You take care of that ACL first.
Thank you.
Okay, get it all fixed. That was very important. And this room is truly special. And thank you for making me feel so special, man.
Thank you, Arjun Rampal. Before you go, all I want to say is that the best is yet to come. And I truly feel that about you. I feel some part of your heart and mind was being cooked for a phase that's going to come your way right now. That's what I genuinely feel, possibly from an intuitive perspective. So thank you for your time. And I wish you all the luck and love, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the episode for today, ladies and gentlemen. Arjun Rampal is going to be returning on the show Tell me what you thought of this episode in the comment section. Share this with as many people as is possible, because I truly believe that conversations like this are the real higher education that one requires to navigate through the difficult times that life throws at you. Loved speaking to Arjun Rampal. Going to be hosting him on TRS once again very, very soon. Please let me know what you thought of this one and keep supporting TRS, because Ranveer and the team will be back very, very soon.